Welcome to the show. I'm James.
I'm David.
I'm Riley.
And today we are discussing, it just says movie. I didn't fill in my template. We're discussing Squid Game, Season 1, all 9 episodes. We'll laugh, we'll argue, we might get a little too into it. It's one of those shows. But at the end of the day, they're just, damn it, it's a series. They're just, the show is called They're Just Movies. Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Oh my goodness.
Give me a spoiler alert.
That's because there's lots of squids in the show.
David's doing the spoiler alerts now.
I don't want
From
to.
now on?
No,
I don't-
just for James Bond.
I do all the other things.
Okay,
That's true.
you're right.
All right, David, what are you giving this movie out of 10? Do that for us.
Although its concept isn't fully original, the well-executed surprises and high concept satire carries the first half of the show. But once the melodramatic middle school philosophy meanderings begin, the show loses the game.
Oh, wow.
7 out of 10.
What a great
man.
slogan.
It was good.
And might I add, we are just full of a weird combination of piss and vinegar today, hey? This is a weird vibe. David's like hyper, but mad.
Yeah.
Riley's like sick.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I'm
But
recovering.
glad.
Yeah, I'm chill. Too chill.
I don't know what I am. Just,
Terminally chill.
oh, shit. give us your rating.
Okay, critiques of economic systems are so much more fun when they involve school uniforms and gruesome deaths, and there's no denying that Squid Game has given the internet much to ink about. It's not just a pun, it's a double entendre.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Ink about?
I get it.
Think
No,
and ink, right?
You ruin it when you explain it.
I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it.
Nice, 8. What did you say, David?
7.
7.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not prepared to like super argue for a long time about it, but
7 and 8
you're
aren't that far off from each other.
it's a
They
Korean
are
drama.
for me.
Okay.
What'd you give it, James?
The best episode is a 9.5. The worst is a 6. But hey, it's better than Bird Box.
It's not a movie. That's not
Yeah,
a
but
TV.
that was like the previous Netflix's biggest thing.
What?
So if this is going to be
Yeah.
Netflix's
That was
biggest
the biggest
thing,
movie.
I'm happy.
What about Bridgerton?
That's their biggest show.
Yeah.
7.25.
Who watched
Okay.
Bridgerton? I mean, a lot of people.
I don't even know what Bridgerton is. Is that like a poor
period thing,
poor
isn't it?
man's Downton Abbey? Downton Abbey? I don't even know how to say it.
I guess literally poor man because they have Netflix, not cable.
You guys are getting really into classist territory. I did watch the first episode of Bridgerton, and I was like, meh, until the end of the episode. I was like, what?
What is it?
I don't know. It's like
This is a tangent.
it's like Pride and Prejudice.
This is what you call a tangent.
Crap.
We should get back on track after.
This message from our sponsor, Private Internet Access VPN. PIA helps you hide your true IP address so that you can bypass geo restrictions and censorship. You can connect up to 10 devices at once, and it includes an internet kill switch if your VPN gets disconnected involuntarily. I guess squids have little beaks, isn't that
Yeah.
weird? PIA is available for Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and even as a Chrome extension, so check it out at lmg.gg/carpoolcritics.
Okay.
They're Just Movies is also supported by Vessi Footwear, famous for making shoes that are light, comfortable, and most importantly, waterproof. I'm rocking their latest edition, the Everyday Move, which are way cooler than the ones your old ones.
they're
you're
both
wearing.
cool.
No, these are way better. It's called the Everyday Move.
They're really nice.
It's great for people who are adventurous and want a sportier look. They have enhanced breathability and added support. And you know what? They are slip-ons. Look at this.
Oh!
This is the only thing I care about in a shoe. Nike, Adidas, slip-ons. That's what I want. But they aren't making them. At least Vessi is.
Oh man.
So you can get your own and save $25 with our code. It says short circuit here. There was. You can just use the code short circuit. It's our other channel at
Sure.
vessi.com/short circuit.
I got mine have been delivered, but I haven't put them on yet.
Yeah, mine is-
Yours are like kind of sandy color, goby.
That's what I wanted.
They look nice.
I will traverse the desert in them.
Dune, baby, next week. Dune.
Riley of Arabia.
No.
Yeah, actually though, next week is Dune. God damn it,
It's
Dune.
real.
I'm too excited.
Everyone buy 6 tickets so they make the sequel for sure.
I think they're gonna.
Imagine.
I think they're going to do it anyways.
Can you imagine if they didn't?
Because this is only
be
part of
wild.
the. We know that this is only like half the first book or something, right?
It would, if they don't make a sequel, it would be like Fellowship of the Ring comes out and that's it. And we never get Return of the King. We never get
Which is
the Two Towers.
they didn't film it all though, right?
No.
Yeah, they haven't even
That's the
started-
thing that's messed
Yeah.
up. And
They
they
got
already
ahead of it.
finished filming like 2 years ago at this point. So it's messed
Oh my
up.
gosh.
If they
all
don't,
right.
I wonder if even if they do go back to it, I wonder if they'll be able to recapture that feeling, or if it'll be so different. Who knows?
who knows? Plus, like aging out too.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is
He's gonna be
really-
40 in a couple years.
What? Shut up. Okay, this is not the Dune podcast. This is a Squid Game.
We're really here to
podcast.
talk about Squish Game. Let me.
Octojest.
Want to know what happened in it?
Sure.
Also, spoiler alert one more time. This is the whole series. We're spoiling it. Gi-hoon, it's a hard G. Gi-hoon, a divorced chauffeur in debt to loan sharks, accepts an offer to play a series of children games for a chance at a large cash prize. He is taken to a mysterious facility with 455 other indebted players, one of whom is Song-woo. So it's spelled Song-woo, but it's Song-woo. Anyways, he's Gi-hoon's former classmate, now wanted by police for embezzling money. Kept under watch by masked guards and overseen by the black-clad frontman, the players soon discover that losing means death, but each dead player adds money to the prize pool. Now knowing the stakes, the players vote to leave, but faced with insurmountable debt, most return to the games, now followed by police detective Junho, who poses as a guard to find his missing brother. Gi-hoon and Song-woo form a motley crew with Il-nam, an old man with a brain tumor, Sabiak', a North Korean defector, and Abdul Ali, a Pakistani immigrant. Pakistani? Surviving deadly games and brutal fights against the murderous gangster Deoksu, the team's members are eventually pitted against each other in pairs. Song-woo defeats Ali by lying to him about the rules. Sabiak's partner loses on purpose, and the old man lets Gi-hoon win for being such a good friend. Meanwhile, discovering the game is entertainment for uber-rich VIPs, Junho is found out and chased to a cliff where the frontman reveals he is Junho's brother before shooting Junho, who falls. Sabiak, Song-woo, and Gi-hoon alone survive the next game, but Sabiak is wounded, and when Gi-hoon goes to call for help, Song-woo cuts her throat, enraging Gi-hoon. He defeats Song-woo in the final game, then asks the VIPs to let him and Song-woo leave alive without the money. However, Song-woo stabs himself in the neck, asking Gi-hoon to help his mother. A victorious but traumatized Gi-hoon returns home to find his own mother dead. 1 year later, after barely touching the prize money, Gi-hoon receives a game invitation and is shocked to find a barely alive Il-nam who reveals himself as the game's mastermind.
Ill as fuck.
Il-nam bets Gi-hoon that no one will help an unconscious man they see on the street. Il-nam loses and then dies. Gi-hoon then dyes his hair a disgusting red, retrieves Sabiak's brother from his orphanage, leaves him and half of the winnings with Song-woo's mother, and is about to leave Korea to reconnect with his daughter when he sees someone being recruited for the games. Gi-hoon snatches the player's card and calls the phone number, demanding answers. The frontman orders him to get on his plane, but Gi-hoon hangs up and walks away, determined to...
not take care of those two kids.
Yeah. Well, stop the game. Yeah, we don't really know what he's doing. I don't know how he would
that
stop
last
it.
episode.
He's going to go be the detective next season, and the detective's going to be the participant next season.
Because
Nice.
you think the detective's alive.
Oh, if you don't see a character die on TV, they're still alive.
Well, so this is the thing, because I feel like, I forget who it was specifically, but the people I was watching this with were like, I thought that somebody was definitely not dead, but then turns out they were dead, and I forget which character it was.
He's definitely Schrodinger's, not Schroeder, or
Schrodinger's
Schindler's.
detective?
First it was Schindler's.
Schrodinger's fist.
Detective, where he could
Schindler's cat.
Schindler's. he could be dead, like they could write him to be dead, but he's definitely could be alive as
He
well.
got shot in the shoulder, same place as his brother who lived. So, but he
Regardless-
fell off a cliff.
Regardless, it's a nice open ending because, apparently they didn't know when this show was first written whether they would do more of it.
Which
So
is wild.
It's kind of like a conclusive ending while still leaving it open.
Yeah. I never would have guessed that based on like what happens. Like there's so many like big time wasters in this season that go nowhere that I expected like, oh, they're just planting the seed for season 2. Like there's like whole subplots like that. The whole detective subplot goes nowhere.
Well, what do you mean?
Unless they're going to do something with season 2. Like it does not matter that the front man is that guy's brother. Who fucking cares?
Ah, yeah.
I don't know.
Preach.
I feel like, well, I thought it was interesting at the very least because it shows, if you're taking this whole season as a contained thing and like there aren't going to be more afterwards. I thought it was interesting, given that the whole thing is obviously an allegory for capitalism and the whole system.
What?
What? Huh? The fact that the front man was a former player who was like indebted, obviously, and he went through the game, he won, but now he's been assimilated into the infrastructure.
Like Elon Musk.
I like that, but you can do that in 2 minutes, not hour and a half of worth of content.
That's true.
That's what I feel about this show overall, is that you can tell that it was very quickly stretched from a movie to 9 episodes. he for 10 years he'd been thinking about this as a movie, and he refined it, and there's so many good ideas in this.
It was originally a movie.
It was originally a movie, and
Right.
that's what he was pitching for 10 years. And then you can kind of tell at one point it just like quickly expanded into a TV show, and it's loose, man. This is like what I hate about TV is when it's like it is not tightly integrated. There are so many loose ends. There is like lots of dead weight in this show.
I felt the same way. However, I have learned that this is kind of a thing in Korean drama and Asian dramas in general. They really drag things out. They really want
to Dragon Ball Z.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, sure, that's a good
12
example.
episodes of-
But like, where a Western piece of media would maybe be like, oh, this character's feeling conflicted, and he's like, oh, he feels guilt about something or whatever, and we spend a little bit of time with him while he like wrestles with it.
Mm-hmm.
That might be like a scene or maybe a couple scenes in a movie, in a Western thing, but in a Korean drama or an Asian drama, it's going to be like half an episode. And like the whole, like a running theme throughout the whole thing, and they just take like the monologues. Characters have monologues in this.
I don't hate that stuff,
Internal
though.
monologues.
I like that they take the time to develop a few more characters. Like, if it was a movie, you wouldn't get the full like roster that you get of all the participants. But it's the stuff like the organ harvesting subplot. Like, that goes fucking nowhere. So, like, that's like 2 hours of my life that'll never get back.
I feel like we could honestly
all that matters,
all the parts.
Yeah,
I think we could identify them
totally, because it's really just about showing that like the games are quote unquote fair and like nobody is above it. But like it really doesn't matter the rest of it. That like there's like this particular doctor character like.
No, I think I'm on the same page as you, because I thought when they started to introduce it, I was like, oh, the game that they're in is just a small part of something way bigger. Like, no, it's not. It's just some rogue employees. Yeah.
Well, but I think that's what was interesting to me about it. It was like, okay, at first glance, all these soldiers seem like they're like towing the party line, and they are, there's no like extra weirdness going on within the organization. It's just the organization and the players. And then we find out that, oh, there's all this illicit dealings among the guards as well. So that's just like, I mean, yeah, they get
But they didn't lean into that. They could have had that be way better. There could have been like some people getting preferential treatment and stuff. Well, I mean, they were like the guy got an advance warning, but there could have been like a relationship. There could have been all sorts of
but
shit.
I feel like you're on the one hand you're complaining about there being kind of like these extraneous factors, but then on the other hand you're like, yeah, I want more time spent on those factors.
No. I think the point is not where it's just how good it is. It's how good each of these things is. It's not like, oh, there's too many things going on. It's just that we spend time on this thing and it ultimately doesn't culminate in anything.
I will say
compelling.
that I completely agree with you that the story of the police detective, like too much time was spent on him just kind of like sneaking around, and like, I mean, we do learn some things like, oh, they mark the boxes when the victims are alive, and so that's how they know to not incinerate them and like send them to the organ harvester people instead. And so we like learn little things like that, but it's like, how important is that? I get that, but at the same time, I also, to bring it back to the allegory thing, I feel like the organ harvesting bit is like, if the games are an allegory for capitalism, this could be sort of a thing where the game, the institution, the system wants to just take this waste and destroy it, right? And like garbage. Okay, capitalism makes excess and then doesn't make it available to people who need it. Whereas these guys are kind of like, oh, we're going to, they're doing criminal activity and they're stealing the organs, quote unquote, but they were just going to be incinerated otherwise. So it's
I totally agree on the allegory level. I get it. And I like it, but it's just like, contain it from 1 hour to 6 minutes. And like, that's the stuff that like, I bet there was a really good scene in the movie that like quickly and efficiently got that idea across.
Yeah.
But because it's a TV show, they have to come back to it like 6 different times until he's dead.
And so this is
well,
why
hold on, guys.
Wait. This is why I feel uncomfortable giving it, like we talked about this when we did Parasite. It's kind of hard to give it a conclusive rating because I'm like, is that something that I'm like, this is a bad feature and it would be a better show objectively if they didn't have this? Or is it something that's like more of a trope of Asian drama?
Well, I mean, you can only
rate it for your own taste.
Yeah.
But why don't we do what we normally do, which is start with the things we like.
You're right.
Sure.
You're right.
There's at least like 4 characters in this show that I think are awesome.
Amazing
awesome
characters.
Might as well start with Gi-hun.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I love how he grows and changes and then kind of has a sort of a tragic end, but not.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the ending did him dirty.
A little bit, yeah.
Because I really like, they spend like the first 3 or 4 episodes making him so reprehensible. He really has no redeeming characteristics.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's an addict. I see him as an addict.
Yeah,
He's
for
a
sure.
gambling addict.
He's a fuck up.
Oh my God, yeah. When he steals his mom's debit card, you're like, oh, come on. No, not like this.
Yeah, he's just a bad person.
Yeah.
He wins the money. He'd rather gamble than be at his daughter's birthday. And
Yeah.
So, but like, what I really loved about the character is that he's a fuck up, but we learn that he has a good heart. Pretty early, we learn that because he does care about his daughter.
The games is like a rehab for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It really
Yeah.
is. He's like off. He's not able to. Well, he is gambling with the game is a gambling thing, really.
Sort
but
of.
they get to have their teams and their sense of community there. There's a moment where I wrote down like, oh, it's connection that they really need when they're at a team. When they're like, yeah, I'll be the major and you be the captain, and they really should have just stayed in the games forever at that point. Like,
Imagine.
the outside was worse.
Yeah.
I feel like it's such a his character is kind of saying something about the system because when he's removed from, like, in the outside world, he's this huge fuck up, right?
Mm-hmm.
He does not have the inherent know-how. He's kind of naive. He's kind of foolish with like his decisions, right? So
And he's selfish.
he's selfish, yeah. I mean, he is selfish, but he's also, I would call him more foolish than selfish because at the end of the day, what he's trying to do is provide for his daughter or like be a good dad to his daughter, but he keeps fucking it up.
No, man, he's totally
does-
selfish because his mom gives him money. Here's
Okay.
enough money to go to dinner with your daughter, and he goes to the horse track. And it's not.
But I think that's the addict. That's
Yeah.
like not him. That's like the addiction making that decision.
He goes
for
to
him.
the
Not
horse
that
race
it's an
because
excuse.
in his mind, that's the only real way to make money. He in his mind, it's like, oh, what am I going to do? Get a job and work hard and do all the like, yes, that would be the right thing to do. But I view him as just kind of like operating on faulty information. It's not entirely not his fault. Obviously, he
for
does have a
sure,
degree
yeah.
of selfishness and greed. But I think that he, on the spectrum of foolishness or greed, I put him more on the foolishness side.
I think we're identifying though that he is complex and has layers,
Yes.
and that like he is. I believe his choices.
Yeah.
Which I really
and I
like.
like how they unravel it slowly to you that he has a good heart.
Yes,
Right.
you know,
and,
totally.
and like notice, this is what I was saying, that when he is removed from that system and put into a different system where
Rat Park.
what's that?
Never mind. Okay, keep going on.
Rat race?
Rat Park.
What is this?
It's an experiment for the 80s. Never mind. Addiction literature. Have you seen? There's a TED Talk about this. You haven't seen this? It's basically like you got
Yeah, you have to explain it now.
there's like rats that they offer like cocaine to in like a water bottle, and the rats when they're in a cage will go and eat the cocaine like until they starve and die.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But then they put the rats in Rat Park, which is like a ratopia that they constructed.
Yeah.
That had just everything. It had a lot of space, and the rats got to be social with each other, and freaking water slides, whatever.
They didn't go for the
And
drugs.
The drugs were still available. They didn't eat them.
Right.
So yeah, Rat
Yeah.
Park is just like the basis of a kind of drug rehabilitation theory that is it's the
That's-
system that's against you. The world is messed up. It's not the individual so much.
That stirred something in the memory of my in my memory that still's there from my psychology degree.
I'm positive you've heard this before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that
Well,
sounds familiar.
oh.
But what I was gonna say is that when he's removed from this system, put it into a different system where his mistakes and his particular ineptitudes in regards to like financial literacy and all this stuff doesn't really matter. All he has to do is be a good teammate and survive and be a good person. He's really good at that, and people like him. Anyways,
And he is a good person. Like he's the only one being like, a man has died.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
gets desensitized to death right away, and
Yeah.
he still cares.
Well, even like those actions where he decides to go with Ilnam. Like, he teams up with him, and you're like, oh, he's like actually sacrificing his own well-being for him. Like, it's a lot. I really like
When he tied his jacket around Ilnam's
Oh.
pissy pants,
yeah.
that was amazing.
that was really nice.
Well, and I love it as well because in retrospect, especially knowing that Ilnam was like the mastermind behind everything, it's like, how much of this dynamic was Ilnam doing on purpose? Like, was Ilnam like trying to bring out the good side of him because he kind of like took a liking to him or something? Like,
Yeah.
or was this all Gi-hun and it had nothing to do with Ilnam's like machinations? It's that the show leaves you with these questions, and I love it.
I do like those questions.
We'll get to Ilnam later, but yeah.
And I think a really fun way to examine Gi-hun is to compare him to Sang-woo, where like outside of the game, Sang-woo is clearly the more successful one, quote unquote. He obviously has all this debt that's following him, but he's a
He
big
went to
businessman.
SNU business
he went to
school.
SNU to snoo snoo.
Yeah.
Death by Snoo Snoo.
Yeah. And even like when they at the second episode when him and Ali are kicked out and like they go to the store, like he has the resources to buy the food, like buy the charger, do that stuff. So like outside of the game, he's more successful and he seems like the nice guy outside of the game, whereas Gi-hun outside of the game seems like a piece of shit. And then inside of the games where like maybe you could argue it's like theoretical capitalism instead of like practical capitalism, Gi-hun gets to succeed, whereas Sang-woo turns into an evil monster. And so I find that's an interesting like duality of examining kind of the same thing. So
it's kind of just like an individualism versus kind of team approach, because Sang-woo is very competent and successful even within the game, but he's more shrewd and he's looking out for number one and he's trying to survive and he's going to leave with the money.
True.
Whereas to Gi-hun, he almost just wishes everyone would agree that the game's ended and we didn't get the money at like game 7 or something.
Yeah. Well,
he's
that's
like, if I could just keep hanging out with you people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he does at the. I mean, it's funny though, because like the reason they go back is because they recognize that better to have a one in a whatever shot of getting this cash money than to spend out, like, to remain out in the real world and try to like actually pay off your debt. But like once you actually get in there, it's I don't know. I'm kind of confused about Gi-hun's motivation to
come back.
Yeah, like
because I really buy him the first time he goes in.
Well, it's because he learns his mom is sick.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's
her
fair.
medical bills. I had to leave out a bunch of stuff from the synopsis, but
And does he know that his daughter's leaving before he goes in the first time?
yes.
Okay.
Before he goes in the first time? I don't remember.
I guess what I was actually wondering about is how Gi-hun is able to survive so well, given that he clearly, like, I did feel like he had plot armor at some points.
Oh, inside the game?
Yeah, because it's like there's no real reason why this guy should have the skills or the anything to survive.
Which game?
Any of the games.
Well, he was with Ilnam for half of that, and Ilnam always had the upper hand. He knew how to work the tug of war.
That's right. That's true. Ilnam protects him at some
Yeah.
point. Ali saves him in the first
Game
game.
one.
I really like how he wins in the second game. Like that might be my favorite game where it's the only one where it feels like he really outsmarts the game. And I wish the game had there was a little bit more of that. But where
Is that the honeycomb?
The honeycomb one where he
Yeah.
licks it. I'm like, oh, that's smart. He's like outsmarting the game. Like he's
Right.
beating the game at its own game. But yeah, I don't know. There's like, especially the later games, it doesn't feel like they're that clever. It doesn't feel like the way they're overcoming this is like that clever. It's just like, yeah, they're just playing the game. And
The bridge episode's the worst episode.
oh, it sucked.
It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
My favorite episode is the marble episode.
Yes.
That episode was amazing.
Oh, the
That's a good
tension.
episode.
I know.
There's so many cool like psychology moments in it.
Yeah.
The first one being when they are picking teams.
Yeah.
And then that woman gets picked last, and she's like such a psycho. I love that's another
She's one of my
character I
favorite
love.
character, yeah.
Yeah. Then she got did dirty by the that's my phrase today. Yeah, she got did dirty by the
Yaksu.
subtitles. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
No.
We should maybe touch on that real quick.
Yeah, there's this TikTok person who made a series. She's, I think, Korean American. She's bilingual, and she says that the subtitles are often really bad. I think there's she distinguishes between the closed captioning English
Yes.
subtitles and then just the regular ones. But
Oh.
the ones that are on by default, there's a line in particular. There's a lot of lines that just don't have the subtlety, and the one that's most egregious is that character. She says something like, "I'm a genius. I'll figure it out." But instead, she says, "I'm a smart person. I was just never given the opportunity to learn," which is a thing in Korea.
Yeah.
Right.
With people who aren't privileged.
Yep.
Yeah, so the thing with that is that the English closed captions are the subtitles, quote unquote, for the English dub. I believe.
Oh, okay.
I might be switching them up, but one of them is the subtitles for the English dub. I'm pretty sure that's the CC, and then the English non-CC is the actual translated subtitles,
Okay.
where they translate the Korean into English, and that's the subtitles instead of, because when you do a audio English dub for a foreign language thing, you have to like match up what you're saying to the lips.
You have to change.
Oh.
change
Yeah, to
Man,
the flaps.
That dub was bad.
Was
I
it?
didn't even bother.
Yeah, so I put it on for a second because I was like, I had to binge it in one weekend. I'm like, maybe I'll like do some cleaning and stuff while watching. So I needed the English voice so I could do stuff.
yeah.
Put it on for 10 seconds and I was like, absolutely not. It
Yeah.
is horrendous.
No, I can't do it. I mean, and I'm saying this as someone who just the other week I went in and dubbed over some anime, and like I will say, as someone who has dubbed English onto Japanese language stuff, don't watch the dub.
Yeah, it's bad.
watch the original foreign language and put on subtitles. I mean, I'm not going to get in trouble for this or anything. It's just most of the time it's better. You get the more emotion because like when you are trying to match the flaps and like you sacrifice some of the emotion and the performance that could be there because you are. And you don't mean to, but it just ends up happening because of the timing.
Well, they talk about actors, like let's say you're in front of a green screen or you're, instead of talking to Dobby the house elf, you're actually just looking at a tennis ball on a stick. You get a worse performance. You get a more authentic performance when you're in situ with a set that's built around you and everyone's in costume and stuff. And so if you're just dubbing, you can use your imagination, but that's not going to be as good.
Right.
And also it's just weird when the voices don't match what the character you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I've watched some things dubs in the past. It's just a sad fact of reality that most of the time the English dub is just not going to be very good.
Well, yeah, there's like an extra element of interpretation there, and sometimes the person doing the interpreting, the translator, just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's a really important part, even in video games and stuff. The games that are Japanese games, the translation is so fucking important because like the Japanese language and Korean language and English language are so different, and like the subtleties are so different. So you need someone that like understands the intent and can communicate the intent even though the words are different. And it's like, that's really fucking hard. And that's like a level of artistry that I don't think
Especially
most
with
translators
Asian
have.
cinema, which always has those kind of subversive undertones throughout. Like Parasite, the subtext is huge in this genre, I feel. So anyways, that character is dope, though. She's such a
amazing.
high self-monitor. We really have no idea who she is under it all. Really.
High self-monitor?
Yeah, she adapts. Whoever she's talking to, she's a different person.
Oh, yeah.
I heard her.
You don't know any of these psych terms. Don't you have a psych degree?
You're using it as a noun? A high self-monitor?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
I heard
Psych
her
101,
acting
pal.
described as Nicolas Cage reincarnated as a Korean woman.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I heard that too.
Yep. Like, it's so elevated. And I mean, like, all
got
of
the crazy eyes.
Yeah, all of the acting in the show is very high energy, except for a couple. But it really works for this. But hers, especially, man, I was transfixed. Every time she's in a scene, I'm so excited by it. But I will say, her main counterpart, which is the mob dude, I think he is the worst actor in the show. I think he sucks.
Yeah.
He like jowl acts. Like most of his acting is his face jiggling.
And
I'm
it's hard to know if someone sucks when it's subtitles.
Fair.
I didn't think
But David
that
still knows.
No, I don't know. But he was the only actor that took me out of it. Everyone else was like either like amazing or like good, but
He's
kept
pretty
being,
one note.
Yeah, I kind of just kept being reminded that I'm watching someone act.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't blame it so much on his acting as I did on the writing for him.
Maybe.
Like, you could be right, and maybe, a different actor could have brought more nuance to the role, but like, I was just annoyed by how one-dimensional the character was and how he didn't really seem to have any sort of motivations beyond like being a selfish prick.
Yeah.
And it's like, the best characters have something that they actually care about, and they're being a selfish prick in service of that.
Yeah, like the North Korean character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's a pickpocket and a loner, and then you find out about her little brother and her plight having defected. It was super interesting. She's probably my favorite character.
Yeah. It's like he was the villain. I guess since the organization is sort of in this, like, we don't know everything about them, and like Ilnam, maybe he's got some benevolence to him or maybe not. I don't know. But he was, this Gyaksu guy was like 100% just bad guy. He was just, I'm a bad guy and I want to murder people.
I like the flashback they give you of him outside of the game when it's like explained why, like, he's in debt and he had to escape and stuff. Like, that's a cool scene where like he immediately kills the guy and runs off the bridge and jumps.
Yeah.
But you're right, they never give him like any redemption. And like I think even just a little bit, and even if he goes back on it by the end of the show and like dies a villain, like just a little bit would have gone so far for him.
Yeah,
I agree.
We see a little bit of like fear from him instead of like intense, I don't know, bravado, anger or whatever, when Han Min-yo basically sacrifices herself to take him down with her.
I love that.
And we see fear on his face for like kind of the first time.
Yeah. Or in the marble game too.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Which I liked, and then I was like, okay.
I liked how much I love that moment because his underling realizes that he has a chance to, like, basically one of them is going to die. So he's got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah.
He either wins or he dies. So he's like, now I'm just going to be rude. Like, I'm just going to like talk back to him as much. But before that, he's like, hey, what do we do, boss? Like, boss.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see hierarchies break down. Like, this whole world, it's not real. Yeah. It's not real, pal. As soon as like the the odds are evened out, like fuck you.
Yeah. Once you kind of like expose the structure at the root.
Well, speaking of that, like I love when they serve the Sprite and eggs, and then it's revealed that like it's a social experiment. We're not feeding them enough, so they fight, and then he kills the person, and then the money comes in, and they realize there's no repercussions to the death, and then you're just like, uh-oh.
That's a dark moment.
This is really bad. Because like, yeah, up until then you're like, oh, the game has structure, like it's all safe, like you can only die inside the game by fucking up, but it's like, oh, no.
They could just kill each
They
other
could
right
just
now.
kill each other right now.
You're
Like-
incentivized to just murder everybody
Oh,
tonight.
The riot. Does that happen before or after we kind of hear the first diatribe from the organizers of the game being like, it's on a level playing field, you know, like we pride ourselves on giving everyone an equal opportunity to like do this stuff and blah, blah, and you know, everything's fair.
Probably before.
Before
I would think.
the riot happens before that?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that too. Because, but for some reason, like it felt to me like there is this like implicit understanding that, okay, when we're in the bedrooms, when we're in the gym here or whatever with the beds, we're safe, you know? We don't have to worry about dying until we're back in the games, and that's such like a betrayal. Be like, wait, they could just kill us in our sleep?
Well, that's life, right? I think that fits the allegory where,
Totally.
you know, capitalism's fair. We ostensibly live in a meritocracy, except biology's not fair. Like you had players in there who were a husband and wife, and they're like maybe late 40s, 50s, smaller people versus like a giant thug guy.
Yeah.
Like you're just gonna lose. So it's not fair.
It was such an interesting...
That's life, baby.
It's just such an interesting twist when they start describing it as like... Because at first I'm just kind of like, all right, this is clearly probably going to be entertainment for rich people or something. It's going to be some like reality show or whatever. But then they come in with we pride ourselves on the equality of opportunity we give everyone. And it's like, it's a fair playing field, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, there's like an ideological component, which felt so weird because I was like, this is obviously not a moral undertaking.
No, that's for the benefit of the people betting. It's not for the players.
Well, but I don't know. Because
I'm guessing here.
Yeah, I mean, it is guessing, but like,
Because they're doing it every year. You have to think of this as a game that they run and a business they run.
yeah, and they've done it for many, many, many years. And there's like
it's
people,
big money.
There's things in every country. So I'm like, I don't know. Were you guys not shocked to see that there was some like ideological component to the setup?
No, I kind of knew. To me, the whole thing was an ideological thing. I guess knowing that it was a takedown of capitalism, I just kind of assumed that
I didn't see. I guess
that
I didn't.
ideology was permeated throughout.
I guess I didn't really think of it as like a specific criticism of capitalism or anything until that point. And then I was kind of like, oh, this is an allegory. Because up to that point, I was just kind of like, oh, it's a fun battle royale thing.
Fair.
Which is why I said in my slogan, you know, it's possible to watch this show and not think about that stuff at all and still have a good time because it is a decent show.
Yeah, fair.
Yep.
I think, I came to the show late. I intended to watch it right when it happened, and they kind of got too big, and then my hipster glasses went on. I'm like, I'm not going to watch it. Everyone else is watching it.
It's too cool now.
It's too cool. I can't do it. And so I kind of knew what to expect going in.
Yeah.
And I really like some of this stuff. Like I love the third clause where they can choose to stop the game if the majority choose to do that. And like after the first game, half of them plus Ilnam choose to stop the game, but they all basically come back. And I love that. It
makes everything so much more interesting because, I mean, then there's a conversation to be had about whether they are choosing to do this or not.
Well, they are because Ilnam is the last person to vote, right? And he is the deciding vote.
Yeah.
And he's in charge. So you would think, you know, the guy in charge of the game wants the game to continue.
I completely forgot about that until like a few days after I finished the show. And then I was like, oh, he was the deciding vote.
That's probably why he's number one.
Yeah.
But at
it
the
is
same
why
time,
he's number one, yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's kind of like, do they have a choice? Is it a choice? Because it's kind of weird because you could make an argument that like, oh, they're doing it of their own volition. So like they're accepting the potential consequences of what might happen to them. But when they first agree to do the games, they don't know that death is on the line.
Yeah.
They just are like, oh, you have a chance to win some money.
Yeah,
and they go in there and then half of them die. And then they're like, oh, what? So for all those people that died in the first game, too bad, too fucking bad for you, you know?
Yeah.
But then for everybody else, for them, it's a choice. It's a real choice to come back, and they know the risks.
And I do like that, like 184 of the 206 players come back, and that with the clarity and the choice, it's real. Because like you said, it's almost like they're tricked into it. The first episode. And I hated when the game master was like, "Oh, we told you what you were getting into."
Yeah,
no, you
it's like, no, you didn't.
You didn't fucking tell us.
Well,
it was
and that's
life or
why it was
death.
so confusing to me when they were like, "It's all about fairness."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, that wasn't fair."
No. Yeah, here's a
Cheese.
question. Would you guys play a game where if you lose, you take a slap, but if you win, you get $100?
100%.
I would play that game for days.
Of course.
Well, he did play it for days.
Yeah.
They only show it like once, but then
Yeah.
at the end he has so much money. Like,
I love that
such an
scene.
addict.
That's like, I love that scene because I'm like, all three of us are like, yeah, of course I'd play that. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, why wouldn't you play
I love
it?
the recruiter.
Sell
His
your body
face
for money? Oh,
was
yeah.
so
Great cameo. That's the guy from Train to Busan.
Oh, baby.
He's and he's
His
been in a bunch
face
of
is
stuff.
just so friendly.
Yeah. Oh, he's perfect for that role. When you see him at the end too, when you know more what he is, and
I know
Hee-hun
what you
sees
are.
him across the thing, and he just smiles. Oh boy, you just want to slap.
What do you
him.
guys think of the fan theory that the color you choose in that game determines if you're going to be a contestant or staff?
It could work. I get it, but it's also
Wait, what?
so when you play the knocking game, you pick the blue or the red thing, and if you pick red, you become staff. If you pick blue, you become player. But it sort of works because it's like cool and hot, but like the red isn't pink
It's
and
not
the
the
blue isn't the
I don't think
teal.
that's
I
the
don't
thing.
think it's quite the same. They might retrofit that, but I don't think it was intended to be that.
No, and I think that the recruiting for the contestants is so much more important or different. It's different than the staff. Like, especially there's some management staff and soldier staff versus chefs and stuff.
Man, yeah, there's still so many questions about the staff, the guards, because originally the first one that's unmasked, it's like, oh, you're just a kid. And so then I'm like, oh, are they kind of like, are they brainwashed? Did they like kidnap a bunch of people and just like brainwash them into being guards and they don't really know what they're doing? But then later the guards are doing this like illicit organ harvesting thing. So I'm like, oh, okay, no, they have their wits about them.
I wonder if it's been thought of or if it's like they want to leave that open for what they could do. Because I could see it being like the players are people that have huge debts and like the soldiers are more like people that are joining the military that like don't have the huge debt now but want a future opportunity. And so they're selling this time to the game so they can get it. Like there's a million different things they could do, but I wonder if they'll try and take like a slightly different angle on indentured servitude.
It might be maybe
for that.
like
they
maybe
could definitely do a lot more with them.
Maybe the soldiers are people who like, if they were ratted out, they could go to jail or something. Like like they don't necessarily need tons of money in order to write their life, but they are in trouble in some way. I don't know. I love that the show kind of leaves questions open like that because it's knowing exactly everything about the infrastructure of the organization wasn't 100% necessary in order to get to the end of the season. But it's left enough seeds there that I'm like, yeah, give me some more.
There's a lot of elements of this show that weren't necessary that made it so much better, like the production design.
Oh yeah,
All those cool sets,
so cool,
colorful.
Yeah, they built so like I would expect seeing a show like this, all those like colorful stairs and stuff. I would expect that to be like a place that they location scouted, and then they're like, this would be cool for the show or whatever. They built that custom.
such a cool set.
It's so weird.
And I like the way the sets kind of work together. There's all like the like game rooms that are just like little kid inspired one. Like I like the honeycomb game, like the giant playground inside of this clouds, or the first one where it's like a painted field. And when I saw the stills of the show when they're playing the red light, green light, I just assumed it was a field. But then in the show, it's so much more menacing because they're in a box that's painted like a field.
Yeah. There's something about it.
Yeah, but then you counter it to like the dark tunnels of the where like the soldiers work and stuff, and you just keep cutting between it, and you're just like, I hate everything. I hate all of this.
It's good contrast. Yeah,
Totally.
It makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, the colors are so vibrant in the show. It's
Honestly, I feel like if it didn't have that, half as many people would have watched it. Like the iconography of the show is so strong. The masks that they all wear, the colors of the jumpsuits, all of that is so
Someone
strong.
pointed out, Someone pointed out that the school, like the gym uniforms and the pink guard uniforms are like opposites on the color wheel.
I mean, that's just basic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when that's your job, like
that's the production design thing. I know originally the writer wanted them to look like Boy Scouts, the soldiers, and then out of practicality, they kind of started shaping it into what we got.
What do you think? There was any significance to the circle, square, triangle thing?
The guy really likes PlayStations. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
There's significance certainly in their roles, but I don't know what they
No,
mean.
but like why it was those shapes.
Well, we
anyways,
can go based on PlayStation.
I kind of want to like
circle is accept, X is cancel, and triangle is bag. It's like what's in your inventory. That's why they.
What, in every game?
That's why they designed it that way. Square is supposed to be your map. Triangle is supposed to be your bag. Circle and cross are accept and cancel. That's why that's the design philosophy behind those buttons. I doubt it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same in English with the X and Y and A and B.
Yeah. I hate the PlayStation controller.
Why?
It's
the only one that makes sense.
No, I grew up with Xbox, so like I'm used to press the A button, press the B button when it's like press shape. I'm like, my brain doesn't have like the infrastructure to like map that easily.
But it's just habit. It's
That's
like,
fine.
It is.
Xbox isn't more intuitive. It's just that that's what you use.
Yeah.
Nintendo.
No. That's all
It
fine.
is,
It's when you
though.
go to Nintendo and the accept button is on the far right.
Yeah.
You're like, this is not from the West. This is.
Yeah, Nintendo does.
Every
what
time I play
Nintendo
the
wants.
Smash Bros. Upstairs, I'm like, what the
hell?
And on the GameCube commercial, or controller, I still don't know what which Y button is.
Yeah.
All right,
That's a terrible.
I want to come back to some of the characters. One more thing about Gi-hun, because we talked about him for a little bit. I feel like it was a weirdly glossed over aspect that he was part of this like labor union strike, and people like died at it or something.
It's inspired by a real life event.
Yeah, the Sangyong. Sangyong is an automobile manufacturer
Yeah.
in Korea, and they had a big worker strike.
But
in
I agree,
2009.
it's super glossed over. Like they have the one scene, and then it never really
Yeah,
plays into
it was just so weird because I was like, oh, is this like an interesting background detail about this character that kind of informs why he's such a fuck up? Like he originally
so,
had a
yeah.
good job and he was working hard for his family and blah blah blah, and then
He was traumatized.
he was traumatized, and that kind of. But they like I can. I'm like telling this story to myself, but they don't really go into that in the show big time. They're just like, oh, all the beds kind of piled up as barricades reminded him of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems at least more intentional than another question I have, which is when we see him, when it's demonstrated that he has a heart and then he acts in ways that we think are good and we start to like him, is that the character changing, or are we just seeing for the first time things that were there all along?
So I think it's that they were there all along, and it's part of the criticism of, the system that people like him don't really have what it takes to make it in the rat race, And I feel maybe this is me kind of projecting on it because I feel like I'm definitely not like an entrepreneurial person. Like I'd rather everyone just kind of like I think that I'm not a socialist, but if socialism was conceivably possible, it would be cool. I don't think it is possible. I don't think it's practical. But like, if humans were not completely shitty to the point where we could decide to work together and make like a utopian system, I think that would be nice.
You're happy just being an ant, like
What? Well,
yeah.
but an ant that is close to being as happy as other ants. Like I'm not. I feel no need in my soul to like ascend above other people
You're a
and
sheep.
be more successful. Sure, man.
I've seen you with your mask on. And
You say this as someone who I know you are very kind of entrepreneurial.
No.
I'm not saying that is a bad thing.
I'm a
There are
regular
people.
employee.
There are people. You owned your own business.
Kind of.
Starting your own business.
Oh my goodness! I'm staying here forever, Linus. You know that. If somebody else made an offer to me, I wouldn't accept. You know it. I wouldn't know. I would be too dumb.
I've tried to run my own business before. I hate it.
I clapped anyways. All right. My point being that I see a bit of myself in Gi-hun because at his heart, I feel like he just wants everybody to cooperate and be nice to each other. But he gets into these situations because he's dumb. He doesn't know what to do with the money. He steals a little bit of his mom's money and then uses it to gamble instead of being like, I'm going to use this in a responsible way. He wants to make a big gesture.
What's the deal with at the end when he doesn't use any of the prize money? I hated the end.
Yeah, I don't like that ending at all.
So it really, really, really bothered me. There is some basis for that in the concept of like survivor's guilt, where like people who experience a traumatic thing where a bunch of people died but they survived, they're kind of like, it's like PTSD.
If they set that up and included it in the show, sure. But they didn't.
I don't know. I mean, okay, so there's that, but then there's also the fact that I also kind of attributed this to the same kind of Asian drama thing of like, everything's more dramatic. He's not sad for a few months. He's sad for a whole year and he lives as a hobo basically.
Yeah, well, that's all fine. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they just switched up the whole ending just so they can make another season. But if this was a contained thing, the show would have ended in a way that was commensurate with the arc that he'd been on the whole time. He would go and like take care of his daughter and maybe give all the money away to that
this is
lady
what's
or whatever.
interesting.
But he wouldn't go back. He wouldn't dye his hair red and then go back to the show. Like
Well,
that doesn't make any sense.
ending.
Yeah, that very end. But like when he gets out of the game and he kind of like is living as a bum, I'm kind of like, okay, I kind of see this because his mom's dead, his daughter is being taken care of, and he thinks of himself as a failed father anyways. Yeah, sure, he's got a ton of money now, but like she was already rich. You know, her
husband had lots of money.
yeah. So he's like, okay, well, what do I have to give her? The same thing that her other dad is giving her right now. So
Yeah.
what do I have to live for? I have nothing. So it's like he just sits around, you know, without a purpose. Got a bunch of money. Money don't buy you happiness, as Gi-yoon knows. Gi-hoon. Anyways.
And I guess it's to get him to the point where you can have that really terrible discussion with Il-nam in the hospital bed and be like, will anybody help him? So it's like, I guess he has to be on on a low point so that winning that helps him like help that be a bigger emotional victory, that after he comes out of it and it's like, yeah, see, he kind of did win.
How did that reveal affect you guys?
Zero.
That big twist.
0%.
What, that Il-nam was the guy?
I thought it was like, you can tell the show wants it to be a big bomb, but I was just like, I guess so.
That's exactly how I felt. Like, meh.
See, I didn't feel like it was supposed to be. I mean, I had deduced that the old man was behind it.
Sure.
I think
Clever girl.
a few episodes
Clever
earlier.
girl.
Well, it's just because of one shot. Like, the front man is like, oh, the VIPs are here, and he goes to, I think he refers to the old man with something. It's like
and
the
you see
man
the back of
behind
his
it or
mask or
something.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got the bird mask.
Yeah.
And earlier you see the bird mask sitting there on the thing, and then in a later episode, front man goes and talks to him, and he's sitting there, and we see the back of his head, and there's a close-up on his hand. It's an old man's hand. I'm like, oh, well, okay, there's the old man.
Sure.
And so we didn't actually see him die. So I'm like, all right, he's involved. He's probably like the big man behind it. And so later, when they're like, when Gi-hoon gets the card and he goes and finds Il-nam in the hospital bed, I'm like, I didn't feel like the show was like, oh my God, dude, you didn't see this coming. I thought it was like super, super obvious, and I thought everyone was going to be on the same page.
I'm too dumb.
Wait, but so you didn't know that it was the old man, but when it happened, you were like,
okay. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It just didn't have any emotional weight to me. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that it's someone that we know that's behind it. Like, it would be weird if they brought in like a new person, but like
Scooby-Doo style. It's Scooby-Doo style. It's Old Man Jenkins that you met very briefly in the first scene.
well, that's how I felt.
it's more than that.
That's how I felt about the front man.
He's like the wizard character.
I like the old man.
I like the old
Don't
man
get me wrong.
before it's revealed that he's behind it all.
Yeah. I loved him throughout the show.
And then you're just kind of like,
What a good actor. He's so good at being old. His face is always like kind of like shaking.
Yeah.
His
good at
lips
being
are always
old.
kind of dripping. He's just so old.
Yeah, I've really felt so fucking I felt awful when he peed himself. Such a depth of.
Did he pee himself?
I don't know.
Well, there's an empty water bottle beside his head.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so I guess, okay, he's not demented. Is that what you say? When in the Marvel episode when he's like acting like he has dementia, he's just putting that on just to
test him.
Just to fuck with him.
That reveal when he's like,
I knew what you were doing the whole time.
yeah, because like, what's his face? Gi-hoon is like, it's not fair. Like, he's like, oh, let's bet it all on this game. Let's bet it all on this last one. He's like, that's not fair. Are you crazy? And he's like, oh, crazy. Like, you stole all my marbles. Fair, like you stole all my marbles. And I was like, that was a great moment.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Great episode
I love
altogether.
that was a
It
great
was
episode.
the best episode.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to murder Sung-woo.
Oh
so
my
bad.
God.
I'm like, you bastard, Ali is such
Ali
a good
Abdul
guy.
was so cute.
Yeah.
Okay, but before we go to Ali, because I didn't want to talk about Ali.
Il-nam.
Another moment of like the Scooby Gang where you're like, okay, obviously this person is that I a million times predicted was the fact that the front man was the brother. Like, it was like,
Just had to be.
Who the fuck else is it gonna be?
Yeah, that was
Like,
super obvious. Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
Especially when you found out that the game he won was like 8 years before or something like that. I'm like, what?
And so that whole plot, I've already said, I think was a waste of time. But that reveal was just like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess we're doing it.
I feel like there was also like a double layer of it being a cool reveal for Korean audiences, I think, because that actor is a big giant
he's
actor in Korea.
I Saw the Devil, which is a really good Korean revenge film.
I haven't seen that, but he was the Terminator in Terminator Genesis.
Oh yeah, he was awesome. Korean Terminator was the best Terminator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was just like skinnier back then.
What's his name? Lee Byung-hun.
Yeah, he was sick in Genesis. But he's also, I think he's in Good, Bad, and the Weird too.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, but Il-nam,
Yep.
since we were kind of talking about him, you guys think, like, you don't like the character? I feel like I don't,
No, we said we do like
We
it.
love him when he is the old man in the game.
but I feel like the reveal, I loved him as the old man in the game as well, but like, I feel like the reveal that he started it all and his motivations behind it it just makes everything, like, I have so many questions. Like, look, I wrote them down. What is this guy really about? Is he wise and benevolent, and like we see what they're doing is like brutal and horrible, but really he's like, look, I've been in this earth for a long time. I know how the system works, and this is actually the best way to do it. You know, is he trying to achieve something good? Whereas
Then
like
he would just make Rat Park.
Well, this is
But this is profit motivated.
Well, yeah, I think
is he just jaded and sadistic, and he was like one of these like horrible American VIPs or whatever, and he was just like reveling in people killing themselves because it's like when you're that rich, nothing matters. And then once he got sick, he was like, wait, there is something to life. I'm going to go into the game and maybe like relive some of my childhood memories and maybe teach somebody something on the way. And like, you know, oh my God, there's so many questions.
I think that it has to be that he is shitty and sadistic, and at the end of his life, he's like, I want to feel something. Because if they should have done like a Matrix, where it's like, hey, we tried to make a Matrix where everyone was happy and everyone was living in a new utopia, but like human brain can't handle it. And like maybe he tried to make a version of this like alt world where it was like everyone is happy and we're rehabilitating people and like we're changing their lives, and then they leave and then they go back to normal. And like maybe he through failure of trying to do the right thing, he landed on the Squid Game, and it had to be this violent thing. And like I think that could be
therapy.
That could be way more interesting. But as it is, he just was bored. He started making it, and like I don't know.
You think but like I guess that's what I'm saying is that I feel like the show doesn't tell you 100% that it was one way or the other. Like that one that you described that you would like, I feel like that there's a possibility that might still be the case. But we haven't gotten a confirmation.
Do you think?
One way or the other.
I'm surprised. I would be very surprised that he just wouldn't have said that, because I think like at that point in his life, he's trying to explain
he's mysterious.
to Gi-hun. I think though, like
he doesn't tell you the whole story the whole time, which is why I feel like it's maybe confusing. Like maybe I'm just asking more questions than I need to, given the fact that like there are all these times where Gi-hun like kind of learns something from the old man. Like Gi-hun's like freaking out and he's naive and he doesn't really like, you know, he's concerned about everything, and the old man is like, hey, you know, he has the wisdom, he has the calmness, he's world weary, you know? And so like Gi-hun learns a lot from him. Gi-hun thinks that he's tricking him, but really he's onto him the whole time. And then he kind of like, Il-nam makes Gi-hun feel bad. He feels morally bad because it's like he's teaching him a moral lesson. I'm like, why would Il-nam go through the trouble of teaching Gi-hun a moral lesson when all he was trying to do is just kind of go in there and have some fun and then fuck off because he's going to die anyway.
Well, because he eventually likes Gi-hun because as he says to Gi-hun, thanks to you, I had a good time. Mm-hmm. If everybody was just a dick like the thug, joining the game would have sucked. He probably would have like pieced out of there earlier.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think I think I'm coming to a conclusion of my own about this, and I'm not going to ask so many questions about it. I think what the deal is, that he started it as jaded and sadistic, and he's like, I'm so, you know, the world sucks. There's no goodness left in humanity because I've seen all these rich people and we're all horrible people. So let's just like go crazy and have people kill each other for our amusement. And then at the end of his life, he's kind of like, maybe there is some goodness left in humanity, but he's gone so far on this path that he's not about to just like tear the whole infrastructure down.
I love how you're like, if a universe doesn't have lore, by God, I'll make the lore.
I need to know.
All this shit up.
I need to know, but the you know, there's mysteries.
That's fair.
Because I think it's more about like his character's motivation. I don't understand his motivation.
It's because it doesn't exist because he's made to be a twist. It's a contrivance.
Yeah.
But they're making more about it, so we're going to dive deeper into it, so there's an answer.
Here's a better question.
All right, we should move on.
Is it unethical to cheat against a guy with dementia? Let's say, like, pre-twist, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
Just if you've only seen up to the Marvel episode, you're sitting there getting into the headspace of Gi-hun. Would I do that? He's trying to survive. This guy's dementia. Even if he does survive, he's not gonna be on the outside. It's not going to be for long. Mm-hmm. Like, you should probably cheat against him, right?
This is the moral question.
That was a really good moral question.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was so interesting, because he's like seemingly teaching Gi-hun that like maybe this is like the utilitarian right way to do he's not going to use anything with it. It makes more practical sense for you to just kind of cheat this dementia guy so you can survive.
I would totally cheat the dementia guy. And I wouldn't. I mean,
I think most people would.
He feels really anguished doing it, and they haven't built a relationship, so I can see the anguish. But having not been in the game or actually built a relationship, I'm sitting there being like,
sorry, buddy,
afraid to say. I think I'm more like saying woo. I would have cheated that dementia guy like that.
I mean, I think that's kind of that's why this Gi-hun and Il-nam dynamic, particularly in that game, is so interesting, because at the end of it, Il-nam basically says to him, you cheated me, but you know what? We're buddies, and I'll let it go.
I think because he knows he's a good person.
knows.
What choice did he have? Everybody would have done that.
Exactly.
Like 99 people out of 100 would have done that.
Exactly.
He didn't want to.
But, okay, when you say you're more like Sang-woo, we're not talking, like, you're talking about the Gi-hun versus Il-nam thing, because, like, the spirit of Sang-woo would be to, like, cheat all your way to the top.
Yeah.
But, like, what Gi-hun is doing is basically, like, he was losing, and then Il-nam knows that he's losing, and Il-nam kind of like let him
gives him
bring
the
it back.
opportunity.
He makes it easy.
He let him bring it back by faking dementia, and Gi-hun's like, okay, I'm just gonna go with this.
Yeah.
Whereas Sang-woo, oh my god,
fuck,
he was losing.
Yeah.
And he should have lost. He actually did lose, I think, but he had like one marble left, and they would one more round, and it would have been over. But then Sang-woo's like, oh, wait, hold on. There's a way for both of us to win. Hold on.
Yeah.
And because Ali is such a good guy.
He was so shady when he was doing it all, too. You just knew. It was not convincing.
It was so infuriating.
Yeah.
Ali
Especially
Abdul,
like, he's got a wife and kid. It's so sad.
I had a bit of a problem with Ali, not as like a nice guy, but as a full human being.
Too naive.
Yeah, it just feels like...
I blame the show for
I'm
this.
going to put a little bit of my SJW cap on.
Yep.
It kind of feels like the 50s or 60s portrayal of black people in Hollywood.
I was
whereas
gonna
like
say this, yeah.
they're really good, really awesome people, but you don't get the complex, you don't get let into their inner life, and they're really simple and naive, and they exist to serve the homogenous class.
It felt very strange.
And I was like really uncomfortable with especially that moment where I'm like, he has no questions, like nothing, like his brain doesn't even question a little.
So this is how I kind of explained it, because I felt the same way. I'm like, he is perpetually characterized as like strong. He's they say, you're very strong, you have physical strength, but you're dumb.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he's like smaller than Sang-woo.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's like a magical N-word thing. That's a term. That's a term. I didn't say it.
Oh, I see.
Magical, whatever.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say it. Anyway, so I kind of felt like maybe this is because that kind of content in the West or in the States, when they have this like mysterious immigrant or mysterious black person or whatever, was like culture was more homogenous. Like it was less diverse. There was more white people, and in Korea, super homogenous in terms of like the vast majority of people are Korean. There's very few immigrants, and so I'm like, maybe they're kind of still in the same place in terms of like depicting
like it was progressive just to
diversity.
have them there.
Yeah,
honestly, and
I was shocked.
I'm sitting there as I'm the white audience in the 50s being like, wow, there's a person of color in this show. Like I was sitting there thinking like, I didn't know there's Pakistani people who speak Korean. This is crazy.
Well, I think Asian people count as people of color. Depending on what you're, anyways, whatever. He's not Korean.
A brown guy, a Desi folk.
Yeah.
It was,
dude.
It was very
Desi
interesting.
I don't know how to use the word folk there.
It was
but
very interesting to see a brown person speaking Korean.
that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about the like internal, like I know that there's a lot of Filipino healthcare workers like in Japan and stuff and in China, but I have no idea about, I assume every country now that I'm thinking about it has some workforce from another country that helps them out, and I just didn't know that about Korea.
For some reason,
Pakistan's relationship. It's
for
cool.
some reason, as people who speak English, which is kind of like the universal language of trade in the globe, you know, like most people learn English in order to do commerce with other countries or whatever. It seems weird to us that I don't know, like the thought of a brown person from Pakistan going to Korea and learning Korean is just weird. I don't know. For some reason, it's just like,
check your privilege, pal.
I know. I'm totally saying it is our
Hollywood
privilege,
entertainment that sells the American dream, and so the idea that people would travel anywhere, they'll travel to America.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
But we're totally,
there's a million other places.
like
to
the
go.
idea of people learning English is totally normal.
And the flip side of that is in Australia, instead of learning Spanish, they learn Indonesian because that's the closest hot destination to go to.
Do they actually?
Yeah, isn't that bizarre?
In school?
I don't know about in school, but I've talked to Australians who are like, I'm going to learn Indonesian. Huh. Like, what the hell? Why don't you do something like Spanish?
Everybody should be learning
Because they don't
Chinese.
have Mexico next door.
Speaking of next door, Sabiak'S.
What girl next door? What is this?
Segue.
North Korea.
Oh, okay.
That was awesome.
She is awesome.
Oh,
and like
man.
we were talking about how everyone is really heightened acting, like they all have like really external, like high energy acting. I really appreciated that she was not. That she's so internal, she's so quiet, but she gives you so much. And I feel like
Is that due to her acting skill, you think, because she comes from the world of modeling? And
Maybe. And
it was safer.
I don't know. I found everyone's performance were the kind of performance you can lean back and just receive 100% of. But hers, I found myself leaning into because I'm like, what is she doing?
But you know what? I guess I started out like that, but then as the show progressed, we kind of learned that's her one note. Like she can do this dark brooding face.
Well, that's the thing. She's a model, so she can do faces.
Yeah. And she gives the face. She is giving face.
She serves.
Honey, snaps. Back and forth.
Her and that other woman during the marble episode was like probably the best part of that episode.
So good.
So great. And it was so cool to see her like kind of experiencing this kind of sisterhood that she obviously didn't have.
Yeah.
She can't trust anyone.
Yeah. And it was like, oh man, it felt like appropriate that Ji Young wanted to sacrifice herself. Ji Young is her girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Is her friend who kills herself to let Sabiak.
Oh, and you found out she was a criminal? Oh,
yeah.
Crazy.
Well, she was a criminal, but like she had a traumatic past, and like her dad sexually harassed her or assaulted her and killed her mom. And so she's like had this horrible past, and she's turned to a life of crime. And now she's like, I don't think there's any redemption for me.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have any family. And Sabiak is on a mission. You know, she's like, I need to rescue my brother, and I need to rescue my mom. And like, she has more to live for. And it made it so appropriate that Ji Young made that sacrifice, as sad as it was.
They did her dirty.
They did. Well, everyone was done dirty.
You know what sucked though? The episode after that stupid glass bridge one. That one sucked, and the suckiest part about it was this random explosion at the end that just injures. Oh, we need her to be like mortally wounded by a game that doesn't do that to you. So how would they just explodes for no reason? And
that's the only
sucked.
It's the only game that like after the game is over you can get injured. Like that was never really a thing, right?
No, but yeah, it was kind of annoying to me because I was like, are we doing this just to have this cool slow motion shot where we kind of pan, like we dolly back through like in slow motion as the glass is going everywhere? But then I was like, oh, it's probably just like kind of a cool visual display for the VIPs.
There's one episode
It was
left.
like a
they're trying to heighten it, and so like having a big glass explosion is like, whoa, it's so cool.
Well, they also just needed to get rid of a character.
Yeah.
No, but never mind like the structure of the show thing for a second. Like ignore the fact that she got stabbed or whatever. I'm like, that seems to be the reasoning why the glass all went up, to be like a final haha for the VIPs, like a big display. But I was really bothered by the fact that she got impaled by that thing.
Yeah, stupid.
Because I was like,
that's not fair.
That's also not impaling.
I would have loved to see her take the kind of humanity, whatever, stabbed.
Yeah.
Take the, what do you want me to say?
Yeah, stabbed is good.
Okay.
I'm going to impale you.
Do it.
Take,
Chad the impaler.
I would have loved to see Sabiak kind of take the humanity and like the sisterhood, like the lessons there, or whatever, the feelings that she got, and kind of like go into the rest of her story with that.
Yeah.
But then they just kill her. And I feel like all of that groundwork that was laid for her and her character and her story is just kind of wasted. But did you guys think that could be multiple winners?
Yeah. They never said that there couldn't.
Yeah. The whole time I was under the impression that there could be multiple winners and they could split the pot.
Oh, that would be like the twist?
No, I thought that was just the game.
Oh, okay.
But then it turns out that like, oh, you have to kill each other or something.
Like,
there's only one winner every time.
Yeah, because it could have been like, it was just left unsaid, and people just assumed because of their disgusting human psychology that, of course, it's only one.
Yeah.
But they actually could have just shared it the whole time.
And I think that could be a fun moral quandary at the end where it's like, oh, we could like cooperate and split whatever, a quarter of this, and then it's like, no, I want this all for myself. And like that adds to the allegory.
Yeah.
It was 9 episodes. If it had been like 6.
It should have been 6 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been tight.
It would have been tight.
So fucking tight. Do you know who fucking sucks in the show?
Oh, let me guess. The VIPs.
They suck.
That's another reason why not only does that bridge game kind of suck, but they suck.
They're
the
so
acting was so bad.
It was pathetic.
I was just like, as soon as they started talking, I was like, oh, okay, so I guess Korean shows just get like the cheap actors.
They just have like there's no English speaking actors in that.
Yeah, I guess it's whoever, the 20 people I can speak. I don't know.
I feel bad if any of them are listening to this podcast, but they were bad.
Oh my God. It was pathetic. It was that whole episode sucks because like it sucks. The production design of the VIP room is so cool. The humans painted, like all the the like kind of jungly room, and like
the masks
little
are cool.
Bridge. Yeah, it all looks really cool. But man,
then when they're talking, Yeah, you go get him. Ha ha ha.
Why'd you pick that number? Oh, it's a pretty number.
Yeah, 69. No
Nice.
other bet. Did they say nice?
I don't know.
No, they don't say nice. He's like,
And they're like, oh, and they're all like laughing
Looks
so
like
hard.
you made a friend.
okay, you can have the shitty dude who thinks 69 is funny, but then no one else should laugh. They should be like, ugh.
They,
Yeah,
they
exactly.
sound like
like
they sound like NPCs.
So I not only so this is another thing where I was kind of like, all right, if this was a Western show, I'd 100% drag this all the way for these actors being so bad. But there might be an element of the Korean showrunners being like, yeah, we want these guys to be really over the top, or they just like don't really understand the nuances of like English acting,
or they're like, it doesn't matter because they're gonna be subtitled.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
The show is
like
for Korean audience.
people who don't speak English won't really notice.
What's the deal with the front man speaking English when he's on the phone?
I think it's to tell us that
Oh,
there's like people
'cause he's
outside
talking
of
to the Americans.
Yeah, it's to tell us that there's more than just Korea as part of this.
Yeah.
But then there's also because there's a lot of English written in the library of documents from past games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the spine of the book would be like Game 5.
Yeah, I was wondering whether that's like
I don't know.
because that's a kind of a thing in Korea where like because a lot of these Asian countries do use English text for a lot of stuff
Well,
for like labels and
So we
whatnot.
find out that the games are happening in many, many countries.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe it's just like a practical thing for
Right.
the organization where it's like you have the copy in your country's language, but then you also have it in English so that it's easier to work
The
with
reason
them.
that when you said multiple countries, I picture that Mario Party game where it's a pizza and like the people are like swimming through the pizza eating it, and that
Yeah.
was the Italy game.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh my god, where should the next Squid Games be? Because like I'm sure there'll be a Korean one, but I bet they're gonna try and spin it off. God help us if it's an American spin-off. But if like where would you actually be
No.
into it? Like maybe Italy, that could be fun.
I like Irish people. I want to see
I
like
want to see what Gi-hun does. Like,
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah,
I don't
for
want to
sure.
see Squid Game in another country. No,
Yeah, the
fuck
same
this.
show, but less
Like,
good.
No, stick with the same characters.
Yeah.
Like this is a Korean thing. I want to see what Gi-hun does. But I also heard them talking about maybe there's like they would do like a prequel showing kind of the brothers and like their fallout and like how the front man
Nah.
got to his position.
I don't need that.
No, honestly, I don't need a sequel. I don't need another season. They should have just made one good season. They kind of
Close
already
enough.
botched that opportunity. But this
Well, they're
is the
never
exact
gonna make one good season of a show and everybody watches a
But there is-
phenomenon, then they stop.
There is no
They've
way the
done it.
second season is good because this show they couldn't even make one good season. Like by the end of the show, I was like, I'm over this.
What,
It's-
really?
It's the novelty of the first half is like really fun, really cool, but the last 3 episodes kind of suck. It was like,
So like, what I really, really hope they don't do is like, it's a whole new set of games and like, well, it's Squid Game season 1, but different.
I'll bet you $1 million.
That's what they do.
Literally $1 million. There will be a new Squid
Yeah.
Game set of games.
I guess.
What the
I
hell
guess,
do you think it would be? They're just in
okay.
the normal real world the whole season.
No, but like, because there are different ways that shows do this or movies do this. It's like where they think that, the season 1 was so successful and what people really liked about it was the whole setup about like, we're being in this mysterious game and there are characters and they're trying to survive each successive game and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, that's good, but I don't want that exact same thing again. If they had that as sort of like a side plot, and then in the meantime, Junho survived, and Gi-hun's coming back with his stupid red hair, and these guys team up, and they're kind of trying to execute a plan to take down the organization. And at the same time, we have a few characters in the Squid Game, and then they break out and they meet up, and there's all sorts of things you could do. I would hate to see literally slate wiped clean, different country, new characters. It's the same
No.
Squid Game, but the plot.
Absolutely not. No, no.
I think that's a spin-off. I think season 2 won't be quite like that.
It'll be in the games.
Yeah.
There will be 6 new games because the games
Yeah.
is a fun part of this
Yeah,
show.
but,
But
like-
it'll be more about the inner workings of it
calling it.
and how big.
It's Detective Brother in the Squid Game and Gi-hun outside of the Squid Game.
No,
Calling it.
I don't
I'll bet
know.
you $50.
I don't want to see any.
$50. This is on the line.
I don't want to see
Bet
any.
him, you bastard.
I don't want to see any characters. I don't want to see any characters from season 1 back in the Squid Games. No,
But you
We
don't, like,
already know that he took the card, and we
Yeah.
know Gi-hun's going back in.
he's
Squid
going
Game.
back. But what does he go back as a guard? Does he go back as like you're a VIP now, or you won the game, or what? Like
Place your bet.
How did
Place
frontman?
your bet.
How did frontman, or the brother, win the game and then end up as the frontman? What's the process there? This is
we're gonna
lore.
find
I
out.
need
We're
to
gonna
know.
find out. We're gonna find out.
Man, just bet David, please.
I would also accept. No, I don't bet. I don't want to. I
Bet me a kiss.
I would also accept a prequel showing frontman's backstory.
I hate prequels.
I don't want prequel.
because it's like he seems as a villain. He shoots his brother. How did he get to this point? Is he bad? Is he shoot his brother because he knows that there's no hope for him and he's going to die anyway?
Audiences don't care
Does he
about
actually
Frontman.
still love him?
We care about Gi-hun. We don't
I care about Frontman. You don't care about Frontman? No.
0%.
I love Frontman. Everybody loves Frontman.
You don't know him.
People love Frontman. Leave a comment about Frontman.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the Spotify poll. Do you love Frontman?
Yeah, do it.
Hey, what does dialing 112 do in Korea? Is that 911 for them?
I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
We should have Googled that before we answered this question.
Okay, here's a rando human psychology question. Does forming team... I'm just going to not read this ahead of time.
119
Okay.
is 911. Go ahead.
That's 112.
Remember when they were
didn't doubt
picking their teams of two? I love that Marvel episode.
Yeah.
They all pick their teams of two, only to find out that they're going to have to... It's your enemy. The person you picked, you're going to have to... One of you is dying. That was an amazing reversal. The husband and wife look at each other like, shit.
I was so sad. Yeah. But you're really like, oh, shit.
So when people are organizing themselves, they're mostly doing that like purely by competence. Like I want to be with... If I'm the strongest player, I want to be with the second strongest player.
Yeah.
But do you think it's smarter to... Or how would you do it? Would you do it where you have that mostly, but you also want to make sure that the person is weaker than you and just in case you have to kill them? Like, if you're the fourth best player, are you trying to get players 1, 2, or 3 on your team, or are you trying to get player 5 on your team?
I think it's hard, and like that's
Look at
why,
Riley's face.
I don't like thinking about this.
Yeah, but I think it's why knowing the game was such an advantage. But yeah, I think it's so hard to know. I think if you know nothing about the game, I think I'd want one rung below me. I think that's what I would choose. Depending on how bad I am. If I'm like at the absolute bottom.
Wait, are we talking
then
about
I
the
probably
marble game?
Or just like in general. Like if you walk in, but you don't know that it's a marble game yet.
That's right.
You're just there and like team up with a person, and there's a possibility you're with them. There's a possibility you're against them. I think I would want one rung below me, because then I can. They're strong.
When you say
but they're
rung
not.
below, you mean in terms like
In rating.
If you can look at
you have a hierarchy in your
Yes.
mind.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
of competence of like who's good. You're saying if you are in the top half of competence, you'll take someone who's below you.
Just below me.
If you're in the bottom half, you'll probably take someone who's
Yeah.
better because you don't have a high chance of winning anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like your calculus.
Well, I mean, what other? I think in that situation, you just kind of get the partner that chooses that agrees to be your partner.
You sound like you got picked last, pal.
Sure.
I really liked in the show where they designed this mechanism to have someone get picked last, for there not to be enough partners, and to have that. It turns out being that lady, that psycho.
We didn't really
fraud
even
woman.
talk. Yeah, we didn't really even talk about the fact that like so much of this setup is, based on kids games dynamics and whatnot. Like this being picked last thing is like that's what
They
happened
don't do that in school anymore.
Huh?
Now the teachers just pick teams.
That's smart.
Oh, did they used to do that in like PE?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the teacher would be
yeah.
like, "Hey, you two most athletic kids, you can't be on the same team.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys pick teams?"
Oh, yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah, I guess I
It really
buried,
did suck.
I guess I
Yeah.
buried those
And
memories deep.
It was always the same kids that get picked last, no matter what the activity is.
I was picked like third last.
Really?
I was picked because I'm bad at sports, but at least I'm in shape.
That's
So I
true.
can run really fast. I just can't catch anything or
Yeah.
Ah,
do anything.
I was reasonably athletic and I was on sports teams,
Yeah,
but I was
you're-
also a huge dork. So I just was like, maybe I get picked last, whatever. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. Actually, I don't think I ever got picked last.
David was
anyways.
a hockey player.
Oh, wait.
I was the captain who picked the teams.
Oh, really? No, I definitely wasn't that. But I played basketball and stuff.
No, it depends. No, I'm kidding.
But I don't know. I would believe you.
He's just trying to backpedal now because
I wasn't
he's
a
appealing
hockey-
to a nerd audience.
I definitely wasn't a hockey player for sure.
I always wanted us to bring nerd sports back so I could go and do really well.
You know, it was a good shot.
I don't know whether you're joking or not.
I'm very good at sports.
When that woman
Okay.
gets picked last and she's just like, she collapses on the floor and they're in the completely white room. Great shot. And I wonder how much of the production design and the sets and everything was driven by a production designer or by the vision of the writer-director.
Huh.
Like, that is like just a great shot.
I
She's
think-
just, she stands out as all alone.
The writer-director did have a lot of vision for it. Like, he wanted the tunnels to be reminiscent of like ants working in a colony, and he wanted the games to have a certain appeal. But I'm guessing the specifics of it were mostly production designer, because that guy probably had so much else on his mind.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, and also like big props to this guy, Hwang Dong-hyuk. He wrote the script. He directed all 9 episodes.
Man, no matter what they paid him, it was not enough.
Yeah,
He probably wasn't very much because he's some no-name dude.
Oh, he'll get all his money on the next one and do half the work. And
That's
Well, and most of the time, the writer of the script isn't like, even if he directs the first episode or something, he's not directing the rest. Like they bring in other directors. But like
he said that for the second season. He lost 6 of his teeth producing this.
what? From stress?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
That
I was like,
seems
that's
kinda
fucking wild.
They're just falling out?
But he said that on the next, I mean,
like
he has
once
money.
once Netflix had picked it up.
Yeah.
Oh,
He said that the next time he would pay, or he would make sure that there's other writers and other directors and stuff. So it'd be more of a traditional
Well,
TV.
the thing with Netflix, though, is like, even if Netflix picks up your show or deigns to make your show, especially if you're in an international market, it really doesn't mean anything. There's tons of like BTV. There's tons of, I don't want to be disrespectful, but like crap content on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's getting better all the time, I guess. But like they could, just because they financed, I don't even know if they did finance it or if they bought it once it was done, but
I
just
think
because
they financed it.
Right. But that doesn't mean that it's like, we're going to make you into a hit. Like, I think it just,
No.
their algorithms did that. And,
Well, and like,
the audience did
Netflix
that.
has been very much seeking non-English language content.
Yes.
They've been looking outside of North America to get good content, and I think it's been working. Like Money Heist is like one of the most successful shows. This is their most successful show, and so
And I just want to say, I love that as a direction for a film to go in. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see more international stuff.
Yeah.
Between this and Parasite, I think I like Korean cinema. It's pretty
Korean
sweet.
cinema's sick.
Of all the international cinema I've seen, I think I like it the
definitely-
most.
And I think that's definitely the plus side creatively of streaming services is that there is no sunk cost. Like it doesn't cost you anything to watch Squid Games. You're like, fuck it, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Whereas when it was traditional movies, when it was going to the theater, like, am I going to spend $50 for me and my family to go see a movie? Man, nah.
I will say though that like while I am glad that Netflix kind of does this. Well, part of me is glad that they do this shotgun approach where they just like give funding to everybody who's got a freaking spec script and is like, yeah, sure, make your show, whatever. We'll put it up on Netflix. Who cares? And some of them end up being these like giant hits. Part of me is like, cool. But another part of me is like, I'm getting really annoyed at going on Netflix looking for something to watch. And there's just like, hey, remember those 1 or 2 like true crime documentaries that you thought were pretty cool? Here's 8 more of them. And I'm like, well, now I don't want to watch any of them.
You can tell which ones are just ripoffs.
Yeah. Or something. And it's like, I don't know. And like, this is a
Like,
foreign
instead of
language
making
thing.
a murderer, it's like he was made into a murderer. You're like,
Yeah, or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Or they like go
Octopus Game.
combing through the archives for like every random murder suicide that happened in history and making a feature length documentary about it, or a series, or like a limited series.
That's
I
fair.
don't know.
But it also like, I don't find it that hard to discern what's good and bad. And so like, whatever, it's like I have to scroll 2 extra spots to be like, okay, this one's clearly a bad one.
Do you rate stuff on there?
No. But you can kind of just tell. Like, I don't know, like, not always. Sometimes it's like I have to like Google it and stuff, but I can usually be like, okay, this is a shitty Netflix one. And like, Netflix knows what's good and what's bad, and they really do push the good ones more.
Do you know if this show came out in Korea like some months ago and it does
so.
it bubble up like it's kicking ass in Korea, so let's put it in our other markets?
I don't think
No,
so. I think this
it
came out.
It was kind of it
worldwide.
was pretty much natural.
But they knew this was good because I got ads for this way before it was coming out, and I was like,
Yeah.
this looks pretty cool. Like I remember seeing the stare shot and being like, what is this?
Yeah, I think they definitely put some effort into bringing this to a wider audience than just Korea for sure.
Yeah,
because it's not completely borderless, even though it's a global company. You know, U.S. Netflix is different than Canadian Netflix.
Yeah.
So I wonder if sometimes things get big in their own market and then
They're
Netflix-
different
I think
companies.
Money Heist
No,
probably.
they're the same company, but because of licensing and stuff,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, oh, Star Wars is available in this country, it's
The
not available in this
experience
country.
is different, but
So I wonder if they sometimes try harder to make it more accessible.
Well, I think
I guess the original content can be everywhere.
it can be everywhere all
Yes.
at once. But I think like some stuff does take a little while. Like I think Money Heist wasn't immediately a huge success outside of Spain, but now it's built and built and built.
have
And
you
now
watched?
I haven't watched it, but
Me neither, and I don't think I'm going to.
I do want to watch it. It's
Do
wild
you?
that the costumes are so similar. Like the outfits are so similar to the guard outfits.
I think the title just bothers me.
It's a stupid title.
Money Heist.
Well, in Spanish, it's way better. It's the house, like it's the House of Paper.
Why didn't they call it that?
La Casa de Papel.
Yeah, exactly.
That's way cooler.
It's a way cooler title.
Money heist. That seems it's so
It's like a
redundant.
comedy.
All heists are for money.
Hey,
or
you want to
something.
join? You want to join this heist for money?
What are you guys stealing? Money or cash equivalent? Like, come on.
Currency,
Yeah, that's not a good title. That's not a good one. Let's do it.
legal tender,
Fungible assets.
fungible heist.
Traveler's checks. Should we nitpicks, nitpicks? I think the CG is really good in the show, except for the bridge episode. Like most of the time, the CG like didn't distract me.
There's
Like
not a lot
for
of
TV
it.
show, but that bridge episode, boy, that's bad.
Oh, it was bad.
I feel like
The overhead tracking shots of the glass, you can just see like there's like a judderiness to it where it's like clearly none of this is like actually tracking together.
interesting.
It was very unimpressed. And then the explosion at the end, not impressed.
I didn't pick up on any of that, but like I feel like maybe the kind of surrealness of the whole idea and the environs kind of like made me forgive the fakeness of some of the sets. Like seeing the big gym with all the beds and then like the
set.
multicolored stairs and stuff.
As if
So
they
they-
would keep removing beds. Hey, that's just a lot of work for no reason.
Yeah, I know, right? But when they get into the big the tug of war,
Yeah.
big chamber, like it looked pretty fake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
but
when they
that
were
was
falling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But at
even
the same
just-
time, it didn't bother me because I was kind of like, all of this kind of looks fake with the bright colored costumes and the weird sets. And
that
I
also was
okay.
like the one to me, the game that seemed like the least well thought out. I think like Tug of War as a game is good. I love them like the Ilnam teaching them how to
Yeah.
win. Like that was awesome, and I'm like feeling it. And then like they kind of start losing, and then
They do the trick.
they do the trick. Like that stuff all works. But man, that set is so uninspired. Like it's just like a big room with like two platforms and like construction elevators going up to it. Like every other room has been so interesting and like colorful and bright, and this was just like,
yeah.
it was just not. It didn't seem like they thought about
It
what
they
seems
tried to
kinda,
save
yeah, it
money
definitely
there.
seemed more like industrial and
Yeah.
less like interesting in that way.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, this is another example of like Asian dramas taking a long time to go through stuff. That elevator does not take very long to get from the bottom to the top. He spends like 5 minutes
Yeah,
explaining the
And-
strategy for tug of war.
His mouth is so wet.
Wet?
Watch him explain that. His mouth is just wet.
Yeah. So I was just like, wait. So this is one of the things that makes me forgive a lot of stuff in the show. Where in a Western show, I'd be like, that's stupid. But in this one, I'm like, it's a Korean drama. I mean,
Sure.
hey,
Fair.
that's what they do. I don't know.
Whoa, what if his daughter is in Squid Game too?
What?
Kids.
Ilnam's daughter?
No.
Gi-hun?
Yeah.
She's a child.
I mean, they could jump like 30 years.
She's a.
No, they kidnap her.
Look, we know you're 11, but you stole a lot of stuff from the school cafeteria.
We saw you with that gun lighter.
You're in deep.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up.
I got one more hit
Let's
pick.
wind it down.
Oh, I have
hit
one
pick.
hit pick too.
Let's
Go.
hear them.
The fact that the newscast at the end talking about the growing inequality in South Korea was a real newscast.
Oh, wow.
was it?
That's a hit pick.
That's a hit
Okay.
pick. I was like, that's pretty cool.
That was one of my main questions about this whole thing was that like, okay, is debt a big problem in Korean society?
It's huge.
Because I don't
Yeah.
know.
And COVID made it way worse.
Hmm.
And so, like everywhere else where the billionaires got trillions richer and
Right.
the rest of us.
Yeah, because this was definitely like obviously inequality is a huge talking point in the world for many years, but particularly in the last few. But I just didn't know the specifics of the South Korean situation because it seemed like this whole specifically debt situation was like maybe a Korean specific
In the
thing.
first few episodes, there's so many little transactions. Okay,
Mhm.
have you noticed that? There's so many in the first, like say 2 to 3 episodes. There are so many cash transactions where someone hands someone else 10,000 won and or
Oh.
bet somebody else.
Yeah.
There's tons.
Hmm.
I just, I
Yeah,
don't know. I have nothing to say more about it. It's just like
That's the thing.
There's some kind of theme here.
My one hit pick is the kid in the arcade who helps him win the
yeah.
the
Oh
lighter.
yeah, that kid was a legend.
That was so funny. Gion's like freaking out trying to get to operate this claw machine, and the kid's like, here's the trick or whatever. And then they're both looking at it as like it goes slowly over to the drop box and they
Hug
get
each
it. And
other.
then they're like, he hugs this random like little kid. He's like a drunk looking stranger at the arcade. And they're like, yeah.
I had a question
Yeah,
about
kids
that.
like
so
cute little chunks.
the box is the same as like the boxes from
Similar.
the game.
Okay, so this bothered me because I
But,
watched
like,
it with
is it just like coincidence?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
And like
There are no coincidences in Squid Game.
I don't think it's honestly, we didn't even cover it at all, but like I watched a couple of video essays that were like pointing out all of these things that like things were foreshadowed, like Deoksu jumps off the bridge to escape the
Yeah.
gangsters and that's how he
Yeah.
dies.
Every death is like that.
Yeah, and then like Song-woo gives Ali the money to go pay for the thing, but then that's how he dies because he like gives him the pebbles, but then they're not. Or anyways, what were we saying? Why was I saying
The
this?
box.
The box, right? The box is the same design, except it didn't have a pink ribbon, it had a silver ribbon.
Isn't it different dimensions too? It's a little more square than rectangle.
Well, sure, but
And-
I mean,
and
It
what-
also contains a gun that has fire incineration.
yeah.
Oh,
foreshadow.
but
Nah.
in what world are they putting realistic guns lighters in kids' machines?
This is why it was set up, man. The front man put that in
I'm
there.
gonna put it in there.
The most
Those
grabbable
machines
thing.
have really fallen in quality since the debt crisis started.
Well, I mean, like that's a good prize. Like it's probably worth way more money than any of those shitty stuffies are. But like, you don't put that in a kid machine, man.
The kids like swaggies carrying around instead of a bunch of stuffies. It's like, yeah, I got a box of condoms.
Syringes.
Yeah, shotgun.
What was the significance of the red hair? What? Like it's like okay,
To
he's
bother me.
renewed vigor. Like he's stepping
I
into
think
the
it
next
symbolizes anger.
anger. Okay,
Yeah, I saw somebody say that it symbolizes something in Korean like vitality or something.
sure.
But it looks so bad.
It was weird.
It looks really, really bad. Okay, so one person's theory was that was the only men's or short haircut and on the pictures on the wall.
Mhm.
And so if it was any, like he just like he doesn't care, you know, he's not about the aesthetics or whatever. So he's just like, give me that one, sure, whatever. And if it was a different haircut, he'd pick that one. You know, it's not like he picked
Yeah,
the
but
red on
why
purpose
did the writers put it in?
yeah.
to bother me.
No, it's just. No. I don't agree with that person.
I feel like it's probably the symbolic thing, but
Yeah.
it just looks horrible, and I
looks-
wish they didn't do it.
Really distracting, and it doesn't feel like a big enough payoff.
And honestly, like it kind of ruined. Like I was like riding high. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this show's good. I'm super into the show. This is great, and it really just took the wind out of my sails for that last few minutes.
yeah.
Speaking of
Last few minutes.
wind out of your sails.
Huh?
No, I don't know. And also things we shouldn't do. I know some people are mad when we do series. We don't like doing series. They take a lot of work from us.
Yeah. 9
What,
hours in the
Squid Game?
weekend.
The thing with Squid Games, everybody's already seen
Yeah,
it.
we just figured most people were watching it anyways. Sorry if you didn't watch it.
And if you do watch it, watch episodes 1 through 4 and then 6. And then just stop.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're listening to this, you've already got all the
maybe,
spoilers.
Maybe
so.
even skip episode 2 when they go back outside of the Squid Game. You don't need that episode.
You don't need that one.
Well,
Well,
that's true. It's
it's
character
set-
Read
development.
the
Sets-
Wikipedia entry.
but it sets up all the stakes, like
Fair,
the old
fair.
ladies that are dying. And,
yeah.
yeah. All right, everybody. Next week. Dun, 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 dun.
Done.
Fear is the mind killer.
This box hurts my hand.
You'll have to face my gong jabar.
You have to stick your hands into our gom jabar and
your hand-
hold it there.
Hey, kid, put your hand in my box. I don't want to listen.
No. Anyways, come back next week to watch Dune or listen to us talk about Dune.
Dune.
The Benny Jesuit, man. So cool. All right.
Benny Jesuit?
That's all right.
Hey, name's Benny Jesuit. Pleased to meet you.
All right.
Sort of a witch, not really.
See you guys.